Hola chingonas, welcome back to my podcast, Healing with a Chingona. We are chingonas together. So this episode's about how breakup turned into a spiritual journey. And here we are a couple years later. So how do I start with this relationship? Started with it, damn, like no introduction, no nothing. But ¿cómo comenzamos? Bueno, esta relación puedo decir que it started when I was like 16, 17. I can't really pinpoint. I was like a junior slash senior in high school. He was like 5 years older than me. I know you're gonna be like, girl, you should have known. I didn't know. No me digan nada, ya pasó. But yeah, I started dating this person, and a lot of us think that, oh, I'm not used to dating younger people. I'm not this, I'm not that. Older people are better. Cada quien with their belief systems. Everybody has their own perspective, a different point of view of everything. And that point in my life, I thought that dating somebody older than me was going to be easier. That it was going to be like, maybe a walk at the park, or maybe they know what they're doing. They should know better, or they have experience and they know what they want. Tienen la cabeza en bien centrada. But it was not the easiest relationship. And it takes still some time to really acknowledge that. I'm not sure if I'm going to get into it 100% in this episode. Maybe as long as I go throughout this podcast, I'll be talking about it little by little and open up a little bit more. But one thing that I am for a fact blessed to have from this relationship is my son. He is now 9 years old. And he's an amazing little kid. That's one of the amazing things that happened. That's the biggest blessings from this relationship. The other part is that yo ya puedo decir que gracias a esta relación, like thanks to this relationship, I am who I am now. And I learned a lot. I'm not gonna say that relationship turned me into a better person, but that relationship pushed me to start my healing journey. That relationship pushed me to want to do things better, because no merecía yo eso. Neither did he. And neither did any of my ancestors as well. So es algo que me costó poder entender antes. Y ahora sí lo puedo ver. Antes no lo podía ver. Tenía tanto coraje. I was pissed at him. I was pissed at everybody. And I did not want to see him. And that's one thing that I legit... it took me some time, bro. Like, I'm not... No lo puedo negar. Like, I'm saying it now out loud. And it's just like, wow, like, I'm saying this. Like... Back then, I couldn't. I started dating this guy in 2011, and I called it quits in 2015, after 2 years, a year and a half after my son was born. My son was born in 2013. I'm not gonna say that I was una blanca palomita. I was not a white dove. He wasn't either. We both had toxic tendencies. We both were good and bad for each other. And that's something that I could really admit. I'm getting emotional just talking about it. And it's because I'm getting emotional because I miss the relationship. I get emotional because, like, damn, I've grown so much after this. Like, I am able to see that. And it did not take me a couple months to heal. If it has taken me years, and there's still stuff that I've been healing. Even now, man, there's still stuff that I'm still healing. But I feel like I am at the 90% mark after this relationship. And it's like I said, me ha costado un chingo. Esta relación me deterioró mucho. This relationship brought me down really bad. Self-esteem, mentally, emotionally, and maybe in every aspect that I could think of. And we were not that good for each other, to be honest. But yeah, like, I should have seen the red flags, and I should have known. I feel like I should have known better, but I didn't. And that's okay. That's how we learn. Es como uno aprende nuestras lecciones amorosas. Es como uno aprende. Pero pasé por mucho, como les digo, pasé por mucho. No sé ni cómo comenzarlo en este podcast y cómo empezar a decir la relación. Se sentía como que desde el principio eran mentiras. No voy a decir de que he wasn't talking to other people, like, because he was talking to other people. Obviously, no person is gonna admit, yeah, I'm fucking up, He had been talking to other people from the get-go, and I was always forgiving it, or it was, putting it to the side, brushing it to the side. And the times that I did talk to other people during this relationship, I did it because I was pissed. And that's something that he never really knew. Like, he knew that I talked to somebody or other people because I wanted him to see it, but I didn't really get the reaction that I expected from him. So that's like little parts here and there. Um, it really sucked. I think the one that hurts the most, like I said, yeah, there was a lot of stuff. Like, and I feel like I'm all over the place in this podcast and this episode about where to start in this relationship. Um, but I think I'm gonna talk about the part of my pregnancy. I think that was the hardest part. My mom knew about my pregnancy because, thank you, healthcare, sending a paper to my house about an appointment. So she found out. I didn't get kicked out from my mom's home. My mom didn't kick me out because I was pregnant. It was like a stupid ass reason that maybe I'll get into details soon or another day. But she kicked me out, and that glorious day, ese día bendito, Dios mío, ese día de que my mom kicked me out, is also a day that I had a huge argument with him. Keep in mind, I was like probably like 3 months pregnant already. And I had nowhere else to go. But my mom thought that I was Gucci. My mom always warned me about him. And that's something that I should have listened. Oh my God, it gets me emotional. I should have listened. Like, my mom told me so many times, no hagas esto. O date cuenta, o mira esto. And rebellious teen me was like, ay, ¿qué vas a saber tú, me entiendes? ¿Qué puedes tú decirme nomás? No quiere que esté con alguien or whatever, But now I see it. Like, now I'm able to tell my mom, like, te hubiera hecho caso. But al mismo tiempo, if I would have listened to her, I wouldn't have Michael. So I think about all this other stuff, Like, I have to see it in every different different point of views, I mean. So, I had to go back to this guy's house. And in this house, he lived with his brother. He lived with his mother. And technically, my mother-in-law, which she also didn't like me. So that's a story for another day. So here I am. I had no option but to go live with this guy that in my mental state, I felt like at 3 months pregnant, even though I was 18, 17, 18. I think I was 18. In my mental state, I was like, I don't see myself with him. And I felt it in me. But I had no option. I had to just fucking do it. I had to move in with this guy. So here I am, 18, living with this guy. Mind you, this apartment was a 2-bedroom apartment. Like I mentioned, his mom, his brother and him shared a room, and his mom had her own room. And believe it or not, damn, I'm black. talking about this. I was a pregnant girl sleeping on a sofa most of the time. I had to get myself a little bit, so I paused the thing. There was a lot of the times that I slept on the sofa because she had her own room. His brother and him slept in the same bed. Shit like that. So here I was, pregnant, sleeping on the sofa. There's times where I did sleep on the bed, but that was when his brother and my son's dad were working because they were working night shifts. So I would sleep on the bed. But that was, every so often, which it's still something better than sleeping on a fucking sofa. I'll tell you that much. And like I mentioned earlier, his mom didn't really like me. So in her head, my son was not, my son was not his dad. So she didn't care. She was a heavy smoker. So she would smoke in the apartment. And that's one of the reasons why I can't stand the smell of smoke. Especially there's caramel. I don't know, that white box and the yellow gold box, whatever. White gold box. That's one of the reasons why I can't really stand that smell. Because it brings me back the trauma. Lady, bro. Keep in mind, this lady also put me through some shit, bro. Pero bueno. La cosa es de que pues pasé por mucho en esa relación. There was a lot of messages that I would see. And yeah, I'm not... Durante ese tiempo me sentía mal because I was pregnant. I was hormonal. I wanted love. I wanted to be taken care of. I felt like I had nobody. I was mad at my mom. I was mad at the world. I was pissed off. And here I am. Every cell in my body was creating life. And I hated life itself, which sucks. It sucks so bad. Second time I paused this recording to get my shit together. Tengo que acomodarme los huevos para poder hablar. Anyways, so yeah, it was a lot. I was going through a lot emotionally, and I still felt like in the back of my mind, I guess generationally, it felt like hey man, we having a kid together. Are you gonna get it together? Yes or no? Pero pues I couldn't go nowhere. I had nowhere to go, even if it was the answer was no, and it was clear it was a no. So months pass, and living in that apartment with them for what, 6 more months, 7 more months until my son was born. And that's when the process starts about looking for a house to rent. And ta-da-da, it's all of us again because um, we couldn't get a place to ourselves. It was just like, it was every block, it like, cada traba, there was always like a blockage of like, we can't do it alone. Like, it was not meant to be. But here I am being dragged with these other people. I give him this much though. Like, during the time after Michael was born, he was the provider for the bills. I didn't really get much of help from him to do anything else. I thank my mom for that though. After we started getting a little bit along, she would buy me clothes. Michael was good instead because I applied for food stamps, and he had Medicaid, so nothing. He didn't really have to spend much out of pocket besides the bills that were divided into three people: him, his brother, and his mom, and that was it. But it was a lot through my pregnancy, dealing with his mom thinking that my son was not his dad, his son. Dealing with the criticism, seeing those messages. Like I said, I was still trying to figure out what I needed to do. I was young, I was naive, so I would go through his messages because something always told me that little thing, and I thought it was just my insecurities, but something always told me, and now I know it's my intuition. Back then, yo no sabía que era eso. No sabía que chingados era eso. But yeah, my intuition was the one saying, hey, something's wrong. Like, no estás loca. And that was something that I would always get every time I would ask him, like, hey, are you talking to somebody else? No, estás loca. ¿Qué vas a estar hablando con alguien más? ¿Qué el otro? ¿Qué esto? La loca. La historia de la loca. La loca era yo. So every time I would check, it's somebody always knew. Una ex, una que dice que amiga, una que lo otro, lo que, all this stuff. And al final de todo, I was just the crazy one because why was I looking on his phone? Pero como dicen, el que quiere encuentra, y si no quieres lastimarte, no busques. And that was a huge thing in my life throughout that process during pregnancy. Like, bro, imagine going to sleep next to this person after you watched all this shit while pregnant. And it was too much. Like, pictures, it was a lot. It was a lot. Without a lie, it was a lot to go through my pregnancy. And I know for a fact that's one of the reasons why my son is very sentimental, because I did a lot of the crying when I was pregnant. I felt alone. I knew that I needed to get out, but I couldn't find a way. Then it was the part after my son was born. It was a process because the delivery wasn't easy. It was very, very scary. And to this day is something that it scares me about having another child, which now I do. Like, I do want to have another one. So, cuando quieras, Diosito, cuando me quieras mandar uno, estoy lista. But for a while, I was scared of having children because I signed the blood transfusion paper because my mom made me. She's like, deberías firmarlo porque uno nunca sabe, Dios quiera que no, pero pues no sabes. And gracias a mi madre, thanks to my mother, I did sign it. So here I am. We're 9 years later in after this pregnancy, after giving birth, because if it wasn't for those blood transfusion, I would not be here. But yeah, so I had my son. We moved into this rental home, and it was also a lot. I was going through, never diagnosed, but it felt like, I swear, like when I'm telling you guys, listen to your intuition. Now it seemed like it, and I've asked my guides, did I have it? I did. There's a lot of moments where I felt that mother guilt, and I'll talk about that later on in another episode. There was a lot of mother guilt after a while, after the fact, but I did feel like I went through postpartum depression. But ¿a quién le contaba? ¿A quién le decía? I talked to my mom, and I had to pretend that everything was okay because I didn't want to worry her. I had to portray on social media that we were a happy family, and I tried my best. I feel like I tried my best to be that person to stay because we had a kid, and that's why I always vocalize that you guys don't have to stay just because you guys have kids. Kids need happy parents, not parents that are together just because they don't know algo mutual que es un hijo. And it was a lot, and I am skipping through a lot of this journey because it's like bits and pieces, and I am not trying to bash him completely anymore. I am learning. Like I said, I'm not a white dove. I had my petty stories in this process prior to me having my son, because it was like my mentality went into like payback, como dice, ojo por ojo, diente por diente. So I would talk to other people, and I wanted him to see, and it was a lot. But yeah, I went through a lot of emotions after having my son, and I felt like I was doing it alone because yeah, he was working, which I'm grateful for. He was working. He was doing what he could in that moment, even though he was not there when I needed him. He was not there emotionally. Like, he was there, but he was not. And if you know, that feeling of having somebody but feeling like they're not there. So it's hard. It was hard. It's not hard anymore, but it was hard. I tried to keep myself together in the process while raising a child. And I'm so grateful. Like, if you guys see my tattoo, I have a dog on my left arm. That was like my third tattoo, I forgot. But I got my dog, and that was like my biggest companion during the process. I got him when I was like 2 months pregnant, maybe. And he was my companion throughout the whole pregnancy. And this little puppy used to sleep with me on the sofa. And this lady hated his mom, my son's grandma, hated this dog on the sofa, but I did not care because I had nobody else. But this dog was my major companion throughout this pregnancy, and even after my son was born. So I was extremely grateful for him being in my life. He had his purpose, and for a fact, he accomplished and achieved his purpose in my life. Here I am crying. I'm about to stop this like for the third time. But in general, I felt a lot. Like I mentioned on my intro, like my dad passed away when I was young, so it was a lot of the abandonment issue. Like, here I go, like I felt the guilt of I lost my dad because of an illness, but in my mentality it was like my son is about to lose his dad, but it's because he's not here, and if I walk away, then I'm the guilt one, So it was a lot of emotions trying to figure out what was best for me, or was best for my son, or if I thought I knew was best, I thought it was staying, which it wasn't, because here I am next, a couple of years later. The relationship, like I said, it wasn't easy. I was not the perfect dove. I was not a perfect girlfriend. I didn't trust them, and I felt like I could never have trusted him. There was a lot of signs that now I see them as signs. Back then, I was just, ay, estoy loca, que estoy mirando, que estoy sintiendo. And one of the biggest things that I did was once I really opened up to spirituality, because during this time I also went to get readings, like what's going to happen, like I was like that every other girl on my life, are we going to work out? And the answer was always no. The answer was always fucking no. But I kept asking. So I understand when you guys ask me, but I also am or have been on the other side of no. It's sometimes no. And that's all there is. And we try to change the answer we want to hear. But that was one of the signs into my spirituality, is just getting those readings and understanding, like, okay, the messages are coming through. I need to listen. And one of the biggest things that I did, that's when I already had it. Like, I'm skipping through so much in this topic because I don't want to make it too long. But when I decided to leave is because, like I said, I mentioned that my dad passed away, and I'd already had enough. And I knew I had enough because I don't want to out him out there like that. But there was this one time that I was next to him, and I had seen Snapchat is a killer app. I don't care what nobody says. Snapchat could be so bad in a relationship depending if the other persons are not loyal. But I was legit next to this guy. And kid you fucking not. That's when I started hearing things. And that's why I'm like, fuck, bro. Like, maybe estoy loca. Estoy escuchando voces. ¿Qué me está pasando? He receives a message. And I'm like, who's that? Let's call her. I'm trying to think of a name. Me over here thinking of a name. I can't even think of a name. It's because every name that I'm thinking about is people that I already know. So it's just like, I don't want to name y'all and say that it's you guys. So let's just say name pops up. It says typing. Person's name, typing, dot. And I'm like, who's that? Oh, that's just a friend. You know, the typical line. Es una amiga. I'm like, oh, qué bien. And then he just swipes, no lo abre al lado mío. And I'm like, qué raro, you know. So yo, ¿quién será? You know, I'm asking in my head, in my own thought process. Me talking to myself in my mind. ¿Quién será esa persona? Digo yo, ¿quién será esa mujer? And then again, her name pops up. It shows that she's typing again. I'm like, ¿por qué no contestas? Nomás es una amiga de high school, me decía. And I'm like, but you didn't graduate. You were a dropout. No es una amiga. Y solo escucho, él habla con ella. Like, he's talking to her. And in my head, I'm just like, you know, el cuckoo behind me. And I was just like, what the fuck? And I'm like, who is she? And he's like, ya te dije, es solo una amiga. And I'm like, okay. Giving you a fast forward end of the story. This amiga is now the wife. The amiga turned into a wife right after they turned into a relationship after I left him. So technically they had already been talking. You know, wish nothing but the best for them. But it was a bittersweet moment going and seeing everything in third person and seeing the life reveal and everything, the life they created, which, you know, wishing them nothing but the best. But it was a hard pill to swallow because it was like, oh, eso era la amiga. ¿Me entiendes? It was a lot. But yeah, after that voice that I heard, like, he talks to her. And it was just, I kept asking the universe, y por eso los digo a ustedes, when you ask the universe, when you ask your guides, yo no sabía de guides antes, yo no sabía de my angels, yo no sabía nada de eso. I just know that the universe listen, y es todo. Que Diosito, por favor, let me see. Give me any sign that I need to see for me to leave. And that's all I kept saying. And that voice that told me, he's talking to this person. And a couple days happened, probably a couple weeks after. A picture, and it wasn't even the person that he was talking to, it was somebody else. Messages come forward, and you know, him talking to somebody else. He was asleep because he was working nighttime. So I grabbed this phone, and obviously I knew the passcode, and he had been talking all this mess, conversations with certain different people of like, no estoy con ella, we just live in the same house, she sleeps in the next room, and I was next to this fool. So you can't guys can imagine, like I said, I'm skipping over so much. But the push that I had to leave this relationship, it was one of the biggest things of me feeling and understanding what mediumship was. And after that, I didn't try to connect anymore because it was also so surreal, and it was so like, okay, maybe si estoy loca. It was a moment where we were arguing. It was so bad. Moments of him comparing me to like, es que la esposa de esta persona hace esto, the wife of this person does this, why can't you do that? I'm like, what do you mean? Why? We don't go nowhere. Like, why do you want me to get so fucking ready when we don't go nowhere? Like, you don't even acknowledge me, you know? So there was a lot of fucking comments that really brought me down. Yeah, you're a mom, you shouldn't be dressing like that. And I'm like, bro, what the hell? You know, so it was one thing after another until I had enough. And those messages, like, you know, after I asked Diosito, the universe in that time, show me, it just came to light. And I was tired. We had a huge argument, and I was bawling my eyes, and I could still see like me looking to somewhere else right now as I'm talking. I am bawling my eyes. Michael, I don't know if Michael was asleep or not. I can't remember, but I'm bawling my eyes. Keep in mind, Michael's like a year and a couple months old, almost 2 or probably 2 already. Can't remember. So I'm bawling my eyes out, and I'm just, it's put away, but I have this teddy bear that my dad is one of the last toys or plushies that he gave me before he passed away. And I grabbed this plushie, and next to my bedstand, it was a picture of my dad and me. So I grabbed this plushie, bawling my eyes out, and all I remember saying is, if you're here, I hear that people can talk to you guys after you guys have passed away. Keep in mind, like, oh my God, I'm bawling again. Keep in mind, I don't know nothing about that in that time. I didn't know nothing about mediumship. I don't know nothing about spirituality. But I was like, if you hear me, and if it's true that you guys hear me or that you could hear me after your passing and stuff. My dad passed away in 2004, so keep in mind the gap of 2004 to 2015. I was like, if you're real, like if you hear me, if it's true that you guys hear after passing, that you guys are around. I kept hugging this bear and I kept talking to it, talking to, out loud, talking to my head. And I'm like, give me any sign that I need to leave today, and I will leave, and I will not come back. But please, let me know that it's you, Dad, and I will leave. I kid you not, I felt this big hand. Like, my dad had big hands. I felt this big hand on my left shoulder, and it just felt like that pat of like, esta es mi señal para ti. Es tiempo de que te vayas. I'm not gonna snap because it's gonna sound so loud, but it's just like that snap of like, bam, but it's super, super fuerte. My tears went away in a matter of seconds, and I grabbed trash bags, some big bags, and I started putting my stuff, anything that I could fit in there, things that I don't have anymore, a lot of stuff that I left behind because I just didn't care. I just needed to get out. I texted my brother in that time when I used to get along with them, and I texted him like, hey, can you send my sisters to help me out? I'm moving. And they got there within less than an hour, and they helped me pack and get everything out. And it was a sign to my spirituality. It's like I said, I skipped over so much in this story, but it felt like I needed to let this out now. And the journey that I am on, I cry not because it hurts. I'm crying because I see it. Like, the person that I was then was so hurt. She was so sad, and I acknowledge her now. I see her. I recognize her. She went through so much. She didn't deserve it. He also went through so much. I am able to forgive him now. I forgive him now. I forgive everything. Like, I forgive myself. I forgive him, his family, or whatever. And I am able to just see him as the father of my son. And like I said earlier, I wish him nothing but the best. And I feel like I've tried to do my good deeds so he could see that at this point. Like, I have nothing against you. I have nothing against him. And I am not crying, and I did not cry through this process or through this recording because I'm still hurt. I've cried because it's like, damn, I finally have the voice to say it. I am speaking my truth. I'm speaking my emotions, and it hasn't been easy, but this for sure has been one of my biggest lessons and my biggest push into my spirituality. And a lot of times it happens after a breakup. It happens through one of those hard felt breakups, the one that feels like you shattered into pieces. I will record another episode about, being a single mom. I'm pretty sure that things about this relationship is going to come up again. I feel like this is where it started. So now I can honestly say that I am extremely grateful for this lesson. I learned so much. It took me a while, though, to completely say that I'm almost healed from it. Like I said, I'm 90% there. The 10%, I don't know what the hell it is still. I'm still trying to figure it out. So I don't want to say I'm 100%, so I'm leaving it at 90. I'm still trying to figure it out. But like I said, I am better. I feel that I am over it. Like, I've felt out of love from this person since I was with him. I stopped loving him a long time ago, and I realized it, but I did not want to let go. But my intuition, my mediumship, and all that started during that relationship, especially after. But I just didn't know any better until fast forward years after I left him, that I started digging deeper to where I'm at now. But yeah, this is all I have for you guys today. And if you guys have any questions, if you guys want to reach out to me, if you guys resonate with this story, please to feel the need, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to message me on Instagram or any platform that you guys have me on. And yeah, this is how a breakup, a heartbreak turned into my spiritual journey, or where it started, the big key points of what I remember. But see you guys next time. Bye.